So these studies indicate the following: PAS equal to or less than 2 suggests a low risk for appendicitis. Equal to or more than 7 indicates a high risk for appendicitis, and between 3 and 6 is indeterminate. The approach for this is not clear. Options include serial abdominal examination while being observed at the hospital, surgical consultation, or diagnostic imaging. Imaging for children who do not have typical presentation for appendicitis. Imaging can be helpful to establish or exclude diagnosis, and it includes ultrasonography and CT scan separately or in combination are the modalities used most frequently. Following approach is desirable to obtain imaging studies for children with suspected appendicitis. Children with a typical clinical presentation for acute appendicitis are likely to have appendicitis. In this circumstance, we encourage clinicians to consult a surgeon with experience caring for children prior to obtaining imaging studies. Children who are unlikely to have appendicitis based upon their clinical examination and laboratory studies may be managed without imaging at the initial evaluation and followed closely. Combination of the following three features have a sensitivity of 98% and 95% confidence interval of 90.1 to 99.9. The negative predictive value of 98%, 95% confidence interval of 86.6 to 99.9 for identifying children. Here the CI means confidence interval, which is a statistical term, I think you know. The three important features are the absence of nausea or emesis and anorexia, then absence of maximum tenderness in the right lower quadrant, and absolute neutrophil count less than 6,750 cubic milliliter. Once the decision to obtain an imaging study has been made, do as following. The institution where you work should develop imaging protocols that they can utilize effectively. Imaging in non-obese children begins with ultrasonography. Then perform CT if the appendix is not visualized or the findings on ultrasonography are unequivocal. Then perform CT when the ultrasonography examination is normal, but if there is continued clinical suspicion of appendicitis. Then CT as the initial imaging strategy for obese children. Then use contrast CT, use intravenous contrast alone. Then when using CT, radiation exposure should be reduced as much as possible. Now, what is this chronic or recurrent appendicitis? Chronic appendicitis refers to the pathologic findings of chronic inflammation or fibrosis of the appendix found in a subset of patients undergoing appendectomy. Rare in children, prolonged, there is more than 7 days right lower quadrant pain that may be intermittent, and a normal WBC count are the clinical features. Most patients are free of pain after appendectomy. And Crohn's disease is a consideration in patients who have persistent pain after surgery. What is this recurrent appendicitis? It's rare in children. It's caused by retained foreign body like fecalith in the lumen of the appendix. A stump appendicitis is a form of recurrent appendicitis that is related to incomplete appendectomy that leaves an excessively long stump after open or laparoscopic surgery. Now, what are the differential diagnoses? The abdominal causes of abdominal pain, which can be mistaken for appendicitis. Gastrointestinal causes: appendiceal neoplasm, gastroenteritis, which can be due to Salmonella, Yersinia, or Campylobacter. Mesenteric lymph node enlargement or mesenteric adenitis, omental torsion, constipation, perforated ulcer. Then intussusception, small bowel obstruction, Crohn's disease, Meckel's diverticulitis, cecal diverticulitis, typhlitis, pancreatitis. Then gynecological problems like ectopic pregnancy, pelvic inflammatory disease, ruptured ovarian follicular cyst, what is the Mittelsmers, then ovarian torsion, obstetric problems like placental abruption, uterine rupture, labor, then severe preeclampsia and HELLP syndrome, midline or right upper quadrant pain, then intra-amniotic infection, round ligament pain, then genitourinary causes like torsion of testis, nephritis, UTI, renal colic like stone or UPJ obstruction, uretropelvic junction, UPJ. Then other causes like sickle cell crisis, mesenteric adenitis, primary peritonitis. Then extra-abdominal causes which can mimic appendicitis are pneumonia, hemolytic uremic syndrome, diabetic ketoacidosis, inoxaline purpura, and streptococcal pharyngitis. A brief discussion on some of this condition. Bowel obstruction. Bowel obstruction must always be considered in the child who has abdominal surgery and presents with vomiting and abdominal pain. Vomiting may be bilious. In addition, pain and the plain fillings of the abdomen often shows distended loops of bowel with the air fluid level. Please take the X-ray in the erect posture, otherwise you may miss the air fluid level. Intestinal malrotation. Although most children with malrotation present in infancy, a small percentage are diagnosed as young children. Prompt surgical intervention is required when volvulus has occurred as a result of an intestinal malrotation. Then intussusception is usually idiopathic but may occur as the result of a lead point in conditions such as small bowel lymphoma, Meckel's diverticulum, henoxolin purpura. Pain usually begins suddenly and episodic. In the hands of an experienced ultrasonographer, the sensitivity and specificity of ultrasound for establishing diagnosis of intussusception is almost 100%. Diagnosis can also be made with a contrast enema, that is air or barium, which may reduce the intussusceptum, thereby avoiding an operation. Ovarian torsion. Although ovarian torsion does not occur commonly in children, the presentation is non-specific, easily confused with appendicitis. Salvage the ovary is often not possible but is maximized by expeditious surgery. Ovarian torsion is typically diagnosed with pelvic ultrasound. And ultrasound is the preferred imaging modality for identifying gynecologic pathology. Surgeons recommend ultrasonography examination for all post-menarcheal girl with suspected appendicitis. Ectopic pregnancy can be life-threatening emergency. Diagnosis to be considered in post-menarcheal females with abdominal pain. Then testicular torsion. Although testicular torsion can cause abdominal pain, symptoms and physical findings in the scrotum will also be present. Torsion of the omentum. Omental torsion may cause localized right-sided abdominal pain and tenderness. Fever and vomiting are less prominent than acute appendicitis. Ultrasound or CT scan aids in diagnosis. The emergent non-surgical conditions like HUS. Children with hemolytic uremic syndrome often have vomiting and abdominal pain with a prodrome of diarrhea. The characteristic triad is microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, thrombocytopenia and acute renal failure. The diabetic ketoacidosis, another condition which is non-surgical, usually have classic symptoms like polyphagia, polyuria, polydipsia. Once insulin deficiency and ketoacidosis become significant, anorexia, vomiting and abdominal pain can develop. So that is the importance of doing urine ketone body in urine sugar in all children who present with abdominal pain. Then primary peritonitis usually occurs in children with nephrotic syndrome or cirrhosis. Nephrolithiasis, kidney stones do not occur commonly in children. In addition, the location like flank, radiating with abdomen and groin, episodic pattern of pain are often diagnostic. Sickle cell disease is another condition, non-surgical. Abdominal pain as a result of infarction of the abdominal and retroperitoneal organs can occur in children with sickle cell disease. Although vaso-occlusive crises occur more commonly than appendicitis, the symptoms may be indistinguishable. Surgical diagnosis should be considered in patients with an unusual pattern of pain or who do not respond promptly to hydration and analgesia. Henoxolin purpura. Henoxolin purpura is a systemic vasculitis that includes characteristic purpuric rash, typically distributed symmetrically over the upper legs and buttocks. Abdominal pain is usually colicky, may be associated with vomiting. Intussusception is a rare surgical complication. Pelvic inflammatory disease. Although PID usually causes diffuse lower abdominal pain, focal right lower quadrant abdominal pain does not occur. Patients may often be febrile. Findings on pelvic bimanual examination of a purulent endocervical discharge and acute cervical motion and adnexal tenderness distinguish pelvic inflammatory disease from appendicitis. In this picture, the rash, petechial rash of henoxolin purpura is shown. Pneumonia is another non-surgical condition. An infiltrate in the lower lobe of the lung can irritate the diaphragm and cause abdominal pain. Pneumonia can be difficult to identify when respiratory signs and symptoms are minimal or absent. The lung base should be noted whenever chest X-ray or CT is performed for evaluation of acute abdominal pain. Urinary tract infection may cause abdominal pain and vomiting, particularly in young children, although WBC may be seen in WBC may be seen in urinalysis in patients with appendicitis. Children with UTI will generally have bacteria or microscopic, and dipstick prove positive for leukocyte esterase and or nitrate. Streptococcal pharyngitis. Young children with streptococcal pharyngitis may have vomiting and abdominal pain in addition to sore throat. Rapid antigen detection can quickly diagnose group A streptococcal disease in most cases. Gastroenteritis can occur commonly. The presence and quantity of diarrhea can be variable. Diagnosis of gastroenteritis should be made cautiously in children with abdominal pain and vomiting who do not have diarrhea. In a retrospective review of cases of missed appendicitis, 42% of the children were initially diagnosed with the acute diarrheal disorder. Mesenteric lymphadenitis. Children with abdominal pain who undergo ultrasonographic demonstrate mesenteric lymphadenitis in 9 to 32% cases. This radiologic finding is a non-specific indicator of infection, inflammation, and early malignancy. Etiology of mesenteric lymphadenitis include viral and bacterial diarrheal disorder, inflammatory bowel disease, and lymphoma. So to summarize, history, irritability and lethargy in newborns, generalized abdominal pain in infants and young children, vomiting before abdominal pain up to and including school age, diarrhea, constipation, and dysuria are important things to suspect acute appendicitis. Children with appendicitis prefer to lie still, reduced movement of the abdominal wall during normal breathing, generalized abdominal tenderness with some rigidity, local tenderness at McBurry's point. Testing for rebound tenderness may be falsely positive in young children. WBC count with a differential is important. Do urinalysis. Then pregnancy test should be done in postmenarcheal girls. Imaging studies may be done, and pediatric appendicitis score is also an important tool. So I think that session was useful for you to understand the clinical diagnosis of appendicitis. The management aspect is discussed in another video session. Similar sessions of Concept Bridge can be seen in youtube.com/spgmet or in facebook.com/spgmet.